So here we go. Welcome to the League One Lowdown, where I speak to fans, podcasters, and journalists of all League One clubs to get the insight ahead of this season. Town's fourth season in League One, unfortunately. Today I'm joined by good old Joe, Barnsley fan, a man from red all over. Joe, first of all, thanks for joining me. And, welcome back to League One. Unfortunately, last year, a very bad season in the Championship, relegation. But how are you, my friend?
Yeah, so excited to be back. I know we're not saying fourth season in League One in a few seasons' time, Ross. But no, great to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's just great to meet some fans in League One straight off the bat and have a chat about our teams. It's exciting. It's coming soon.
Definitely, mate. It's not long to go until a big kick-off. Pre-season games are on the way. And Joe, let's quickly, sorry to say, recap last season for you guys.
Do we have to?
I'm sorry. Just for people who don't know. But what sort of went wrong? You know, you had one manager, then he got sacked, another manager came in, and just went downhill pretty much from there.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty typical Barnsley, Ross. We're a bit of a roller coaster ride to support Barnsley. You never know what you're going to get. We never seem to finish mid-table. I'd just take a mid-table finish, a nice quiet season, but no, it don't happen at Barnsley. Obviously, season before we finished fifth Championship playoffs, and we're thinking, wow, little old Barnsley nearly making it to Premier League. All we wanted season after is expectations might have gone up a little bit among some at fan base, but generally we're just keeping Championship again and have a decent season. It just didn't happen. I mean, we lost Alex Mowat, who was our captain, to West Brom, and Valerian Ismail went to West Brom as well. And it basically left us in this situation where we've lost two of the key leaders within the team and around the club. And that was the start of it, really. From there, recruited really poorly. We thought we were getting superstars, but it just didn't work. Recruited a poor manager, in my opinion, Marcus Shop. He didn't get his backroom staff that he said he obviously wanted. But even then, it was just a really poor start. Completely different type of character to Valerian, and yeah, it just all went downhill. And it sort of created this positivity of, look at us, we could possibly do it. Maybe, we're now finally a stable Championship club. It just went within like 10, 12 games where suddenly it was like, actually, no, we're back where we were the season before, fighting for relegation. And everybody just felt mega fed up, created a bit of a negativity, and it was just an uphill battle from there, and one we didn't win, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. And now, the current mood. You got Michael Duff now, the new manager, coming in from Cheltenham. Did a really good job there, of course, getting promoted to League One. They finished 15th last year, so a good position. Comes in. What's the reaction on him becoming your new manager and just the current mood going into this campaign?
Yeah, well, it's been really weird because if you'd have asked me this, maybe just over a month ago, I'd have been sat here going, I can't remember a time when the mood's been worse, to be honest. It was pretty low. We were very low. But then what happened is we had a bit of a change at the top in the boardroom. A couple of the guys in the boardroom that fans had not warmed to, fans felt were quite a big part of the issues that had been going off at Barnsley. They sort of were booted out, I guess, in a way of the boardroom, and they're now not really making any of the key decisions at the club. So that was a starting point. And then you bring in Michael Duff, who, he's just saying all the right things. He seems like a real leader in everything he's said so far. We know he's done a great job with Cheltenham Town. He knows the league. And it's just been a breath of fresh air to hear what he's had to say about what he wants to do with Barnsley. And he just fits a lot of he ticks a lot of the boxes that Barnsley fans want to see, basically. So we've gone from a situation where we were all sat there going, we don't know what we're going to do. We feel really down in the dumps, to actually now we're all really enthusiastic and thinking, you know what, bring it on. Like, it's League One. We've done it before and we've got promoted straight up before. So, now we've got a really good gaffer, in our opinion. We hope he is anyway. We feel like we can do it. So we're excited again.
Yeah, and let's talk about transfer business then, Joe. As of this recording, anything can happen. You could be watching this a week later and there's other signings happen. But the big talking point is one of the exits. Of course, Corley Woodrow is rejoined Luton Town. That's a big exit, of course, your captain from last year. And then you signed 4 players so far, all free transfers. Let's talk about Corley first, and then we'll talk about the other signings as well.
Yeah, I mean, Collie is a loss. He didn't have his best season last season, but none of them did, if we're being honest. I mean, the only ones I wouldn't count in that is probably Mikael Hellick had a good season, Carlton Morris and Brad Collins, the keeper. But apart from them three, nobody had a decent season, really. But Corley's been a great player for us. He showed loyalty when he was firing and scoring lots of goals. He could have easily gone to another Championship team or higher, and he chose to stick with Barnsley. And I've got to say thank you to him for everything he did for the club. With his wages, I imagine he was probably the highest paid, or one of the highest paid at the club as the captain. We probably couldn't have managed that with the deficit we've got to make up, because I think that it's been reported about £7 million that we've got to sort of make up from dropping down to League One. So I never really expected to keep Corley Woodrow. I think it's a good move for everybody, but we will miss his quality, and we are going to have to try and replace that. It's a big shame, actually. Connor Chaplin's not still with us, because I think he would have been a great player in last season's situation, and a great player for us now. We're in League One, but
he's ours.
He's somewhere else now, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I love Chappers, so no, hopefully he doesn't go back to Barnsley. I'm sorry to say, Joe, but that's a big signing, last year for him dropping down, finishing fifth in getting into the playoffs, and then him dropping down to League One. Of course, reuniting with Paul Cook was always probably a big pull for him. But quickly, let's talk about Connor Chapman, because he'll be playing you guys next season. What was your reaction when he left you?
I think because of how high we were in terms of we're on such a high because we'd finished fifth. It's almost like the Barnsley fans didn't react as strongly as they might have done if we'd not finished that high. You've got to remember we had like Daryl DK, who came in on loan from the MLS, Orlando City, and done such a great job. So we actually felt like we had too many strikers at that point, and Connor had just dipped down the pecking order a little bit. But I certainly did not forget, and many other Barnsley fans didn't forget, that the season before that, he was a big part of keeping us up. I mean, he scored 13 goals, I think 11 in the Championship. I remember the hat-trick he got against QPR, which was the starting point of us getting ourselves back up and pulling off the great escape and getting out of it. So I always really, really respected and loved Connor Chaplin and wished he'd have stayed at Barnsley. It was just a case of, was he going to get enough game time with other strikers? I think in hindsight, you can look back now and say, actually, we really needed him, because he's a bit of a leader as well in terms of his mentality. He's very positive, a really warm character. He believes in himself and those around him. He could have been a key asset for Barnsley last season, but I get why we let him go, because maybe he wouldn't have got as much game time. Maybe he felt he wouldn't have got as much game time. But yeah, overall, it's turned out to be probably not the best decision for us.
No. Let's talk quickly about some of the signings you made so far. As I said, a lot on free transfers. One that sticks out for me is Robbie Condy from Bristol City. But is there any other positions you think you need to still strengthen? Of course, replacing Corley Woodrow will be the key signing of the summer, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because we signed quite a few strikers last summer, and as I said to you, they've not really done it. One, Obi Alare was one of them. He's gone out to Belgium on loan. I think he's on loan for another season. We've got Lira Seca, who showed very small glimpses of talent, but it was like 2 or 3 games. Devante Cole, similar. So we are lacking in firepower. But for me, the main position Barnsley are lacking is central midfield in terms of just an older head with some experience. It was so evident last season. We really struggled with that. We have got young Matty Wolf, who played maybe the last 10, 12 games last season and showed what he's all about. And actually, he looks great. So I think he's going to be brilliant for us this season. But I still think Barnsley need an older head in the central midfield position. I think that's the key for us. If we can do that, then we've got a good fighting chance. And like you say, maybe just bringing in another striker is obviously the secondary to that.
Of course, and let's talk about then some of the key players. You've mentioned a few already. Carlton Morris, of course, was your top goal scorer last year with 9 goals in all competitions. Not great for a striker, but the position you were, unfortunately, that's all of these what you could do. And also Callum Stiles, who is now, doing my research, he's a Hungary international. Won his first cap for
Hungary. We've just stuck another 3 million onto his price tag if any Premier League clubs are watching.
Definitely. But would you say there are 2 key players to look out for next season? Anybody else you'd like to mention? You said about your goalie as well.
I mean, Carlton Morris literally carried us at some points. I remember at one point, one of our players got injured and he were picking him up and putting him on his back to get him back up and get him going because we were trying to get out at relegation scrap. So he literally carried us. Now, Carlton Morris's attitude is fantastic. I know you said, I think, 8 goals he got last season. But within the team that we had and the way we were playing, I'm telling you now, 8 goals was equivalent to about 25 goals in a decent team. It was a very, very good tally. He was pretty much for the majority of the season the only person that I looked at and thought, you're a threat, you're going to score a goal. And there was games where he was the only way. It was literally give the ball to Carlton and we might have a chance of getting something out of this. So, yeah, I think that He's going to be key, and we really need to keep him because he is a leader. And he was, even when on the day we got relegated, he was one of the only ones who was still absolutely running his blood to water to try and do everything he could, and the others just looked defeated. So for me, I think he's going to be massive. Callum Styles, it's a weird situation with Callum Styles. He came in as a youngster a few years back when we were in that relegation fight the last time. And he just looked like a 29-year-old, like the way he played. He was so like calm, composed in the relegation scrap, so super talented. And he was a big part in keeping us up that season. So when we got into it last season, I was fully expecting at some point the Callum Styles from the previous 2 seasons was going to spark into life and probably save us because he'd been a big part of that, like I said. But it just didn't happen. It didn't happen, Ross. I don't know why. He'd been brilliant the season before. He's clearly super talented, like I say. I think he'll go on to play for a Premier League club, whether it's this year or in a couple of years' time. Hungary international now. He just looked totally void of confidence. And that's the only thing I can put it down to is he was just shot of confidence in a team that weren't performing, and it just really knocked him. The season before, it was everything he hit just went in top bag. And then last season, it was like, shoot, please. Get it, just do something. But yeah, so I don't know. I think he needs a reset. He needs to get his confidence back, and then he will be a top player. I don't think we're going to keep him. I think by the time this has gone out, he probably will have gone because he's probably one of our more valued assets, if you like, or valued players. Other key players, Brad Collins, goalkeeper, was fab. And Mikael Helik at the back did a really good job in a really tough season. So again, I don't think he's a Polish international. I don't think he'll be playing for us. League One, you don't get too many internationals, do you? And generally speaking, the players that are want to try and get to the Championship as quick as possible. So I think because of their international sort of careers starting to take off, I think both Helik and Styles will leave. So for me, those two might go. Yeah, you're probably looking at Carlton Morris has been our key man.
Yeah. And of course, Michael Duffy may see if he can speak to his former Cheltenham players as well. I'm sure he's always going to go back to former players and all that sort of stuff. But I'm sure we'll see what other business you do out throughout the summer. Because as we said, 30th of July, it's still a month for the window to go, even when the season's kicked off. It's just one of those situations we're in. Now, Joe, it's still early days to predict the season, but let's talk about the season ahead. Barnsley are always going to be the big fish in League One, just like Town, like Derby. Still don't know what's going on with Derby. It's still one of those things. Pompey, there's other teams, Charlton as well, Bolton. But for yourself, how are you feeling going ahead into this season?
Well, I'm going to be careful here because last season, Ross, after we finished 5th in playoffs, I predicted we'd finish 2nd. I mean, second bottom would have been a lot closer. We actually finished bottom, didn't we? So I'm not going to make any crazy predictions. I am a bit of a happy clapper. I am generally more glass half full. I think there's a lot of mess still to sort out at Barnsley. Michael Duff's already making, it looks like he's making big strides in that. He's clearly changed the mentality around the place already, which is exciting. The start's always going to be key for a team that's been relegated. If it takes us a while to get going, we might end up stuck in mid-table. And the list you've just rattled off to me, Ross, is quite significantly longer in terms of the big clubs that should really be up there than it was a few years ago. And I'm conscious of that. I mean, I don't know if you said Wednesday in there as well, but it pains me to say that as a Barnsley fan, but, they are massive, as they like to say. So, so I reckon it's going to be tough. But weirdly, Barnsley have got this weird thing where they have done it a couple of times, as we know. They have been the similar to Rotherham in the sense, for whatever reason, when we come down, we seem to bounce back quite well, even if we've had a terrible season the year before. So there's a chance we'll do it. I would be happy with playoffs. I would be very happy with playoffs after everything we've been through in the last season. Just to play decent football, have a decent manager and players that playing with confidence and trying to get in the top 6 would be fine for me.
Yeah, and let's talk about, to end the video, on when we encounter each other. First up is at Portman Road on the 27th of August, and then we go to Oakwell on the March 25th. So different times of the year for the season. Start of the season when we go to Portman Road, and then Oakwell in March. What sort of games do you reckon we should expect? And of course, we've got that history of the Wembley in 2000, some other big games as well. I think I remember going to Oakwell once when we were 3-0 down at half time and then went on to win 5-3. That was a massive game at Oakwell. But what sort of games should we expect from Barnsley side? Of course, with a new manager in charge, but they're always going to be big games in League One, these ones.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some big games, and there's a good chance that we might be two of the teams up there fighting it out. So it'd be quite exciting, particularly the second game. Would be quite exciting if we are. Um, well, I fully expect Connor Chaplin to probably score past us because that's it's a known fact that anybody who's played for Barnsley will score past Barnsley. I don't know if that's a fact with every team, but it definitely is with us. Ex-players tend to love to do that. So I imagine that that'll definitely happen in the August fixture at your place. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I think there'll be some really cracking games, and it's going to be really interesting to see where you guys finish. I thought you'd have got out of it quicker than this. I'm sure you would have hoped to and expected to as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where you think you're going to finish and how we get on.
Well, if we haven't been in the playoffs yet, this is going to be our fourth season. When in previous years, it's been 9th, 11th. So it needs to be better this season, and more teams like Barnsley, Derby, other teams like that coming down. And Peterborough, Peterborough are the standard yo-yo team as well. So it's been, in terms of relegation teams, it's probably the toughest three. But we don't know what's going on at Derby at the moment. But
I've got to ask you: do you regret Mick going? Obviously, Mick McCarthy is loved among the Barnsley faithful. He's one of his own. So
that's a big talking point when the Barnsley, there was no manager in charge. Mick, they'll just get Mick in, but that didn't happen. But I don't think Town fans are over it now. Of course, a lot of people go, "Be careful what you wish for," and then we got relegated. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? It happens in football. You let a manager go, and then fingers go to pop, and then you get relegated to the third tier. But we've got Kieran McKenna now in charge, like Mocha Duff. They're both two young managers, so them coming head to head, the football's going to be great. Those two games, and I'm looking forward to Barnsley Town going head to head. But Joe, it's been a pleasure, my friend. Any other business you want to add before we wrap up? And bring it on.
And I can't think of too much off the top of my head, but if for whatever weird reason you want to watch a lot of Barnsley content and talk about Barnsley, you can see us on YouTube, Red All Over. That's where we do all our stuff. We'll obviously try and get you on, Ross, before both games, and if you're at Oakwell, we'll get you on then. So hopefully be able to have a bit of banter. I mean, we'll only get you on afterwards if we've won 5-0. Yeah, if we've not won, then we might have plans. But but no, thanks for having me, mate. Really appreciate it, and wishing Town all the best as long as we finish second behind Barnsley.
Of course, my friend. Well, it's been a pleasure. I hope everybody has enjoyed watching today's video with good old Joe from good old Barnsley, Red All Over. And I'm looking forward to my trip to Oakwell in March. But anyways, we'll be back for many more League One lowdowns to bring you throughout the summer. So bring it on. Bye-bye for now.